Welcome, welcome, welcome to Miss Debbie Says. I am Miss Debbie. I created this show to share my knowledge and experience about relationships. Because what I know for sure is there's nothing more important than relationships. Today's show is about our first relationship with ourselves. Before I get started, if you are looking for state approved child development training, go to www.childcareedu.com. That is www.childcareedu.com. Before I start with today's topic, I want to tell you a little more about this show. I will talk all about all kinds of relationships, ourselves, relationship with our creator, children, friends, parents, spouses, business partners, all kinds of relationships. And I will from time to time have guests to join us. So stay tuned. So let's get started with the show. Our very first relationship is with ourselves and our creator. So let me just explain why I say that. It is important that we be able to identify who we are. So I and my creator are one. You and your creator are one. Let me explain what I mean by this. We are a spiritual being having a physical experience. I know you heard that before, right? Here is what that means. We exist in the spiritual and the physical realm, world, dimension, however you want to say it, at the same time. So I'm sorry if this sounds a little woo-woo, but it's not. Just kind of take that woo-woo-ness out of it. Just kind of stay with me, okay? And I'll explain exactly what I mean. So, in the physical world, we have five senses, right? We see, we hear, we smell, we taste, and touch. In the spiritual world, we have one more sense. I bet there's more though, but for today's show, let's say one more sense, and that sense is intuition. Some say your higher self, the place where the creator is. Your intuition is that gut feeling. You know that feeling that you get when something is right and something is wrong. Okay? That gut feeling. So what's so woo-woo about that? So I'll say it again. We exist in the spiritual and physical world at the same time. We have six senses. In the beginning, the Creator created us and gave us part of it, the Creator, and that part is what gives us life. If you take away that part, then there's no life. Or another way of looking at it, we are alive because of the part of the Creator that gives us life. There is no separation. Without the Creator, there's no life, and there is life, and life is eternal. That means no death. But that's another show, okay? That was real deep, right? You know that the body dies, but not the soul. You guys heard all of this before, okay? We heard all of this before. Isn't that good news, though? There's more. The Creator makes everything work. The Creator is a force of energy and infinite intelligence. consciousness. We are all part of that one consciousness. Someone explains it like this. I really like the way they did. We are one body, and each of us is a cell. Every cell has a different function, but together it's all one body. Okay, so sit with that for a minute. Each cell has its own function, right? And just to go for a minute, sidetrack, to go a little deeper with that thought, I'm the eye cell, you might be the air cell. I will stay and mind my business with the eye, and you stay over there with the air and mind your business, okay? Yes, each one of us have our own purpose, and that purpose is important, okay? That was just like sidebar, you guys. But I do like that analogy. Each one of us can think, okay? Each one of us is consciousness. We can think. Babies think. Day one, we think. That means we have thoughts. And then the thoughts turn into belief or concepts or ideas, okay? Where does thoughts come from? Our ego, sometimes other people's ego, the creator, okay? Thoughts. And of course, we must know where the thoughts are coming from so that we can make the best decisions about the thought, okay? So here's how it works. We have a thought. We use our intuition. What is your gut telling you? What is your gut feeling about that thought? That's your intuition, okay? It's a gut feeling. Does it make you feel good or does it make you feel bad? The emotion that you have is telling you what you feel about the thought, okay? And then you decide whether you want to believe in that thought, believe it as a concept, or even just the idea. Or how about you don't like the thought at all and you just never use it or react to it? Now, this happens whether we are aware of it or not. This happens. So whether we are conscious of it or not. So my hope is that we become aware so that we don't have to be unconscious. We could be conscious and aware of our choices and what we are doing all the time. Okay? So maybe you're not sure of how you feel about the thought. That just means you need more clarity. You need to gather more information, okay? Once again, this is happening whether you are aware of it or not, whether you're conscious of it or not. This is what happens, okay, anyway. Okay, so we may need more clarity. You guys heard this term before. We bump our head so many times against the same wall. And that's because we need more clarity. You could look at it as a bad thing, and you probably do, because when you bump your head, it hurts, right? It's painful. Or you could be aware that is what's happening, and then it won't hurt so bad. You can be like, I'm bumping my head against the same wall, but you know what? I get it now. I get it now. I get it. And then you have clarity. And now you know what to do. Okay? So, back to thoughts. Is this a thought that you want to use as a concept or a belief or an idea. And if so, then the thought will be manifested. Okay. You will start to use the thought. Okay. So just remember, we make decisions with the Creator all the time. Remember, there's no separation. The Creator is with us all the time, good or bad. Because the Creator loves us unconditionally, which means the Creator loves us for no reason. No reason. No reason at all. We have free will, freedom to choose from day one. Day one. So once again, we can think. We are born free. We are not robots. Children are not robots. Adults, parents, governments, we are not robots. We are free to choose. The difference between you and your Creator is you have an ego and the Creator does not. The Creator is good. The ego is bad because it doesn't realize it is a part of that one body. It doesn't realize that. The ego convinces us that we stand alone and that we are alone. Okay? Now, what might be confusing? Some of us been taught that the Creator has an ego. Okay? And I'll give you an example. I went to a private religious school, and the adults would say to me, and you probably have heard this too, God don't like ugly. They would say that to me when they felt I wasn't behaving in a way that they didn't like. So they wanted me to know that they didn't like it, and neither did God. And God will punish you, or God will punish me, and so will they. Well, this is how I felt about that as a little girl. Why did God create ugly? And how can God punish me for what God created? That was just mean. That was mean. That was my thought as a little girl, right? But then another thought, because that thought, God is mean, made me feel bad, made me feel sad. So then here's another thought, my thought, another one. That's not true. God is good and only good. That thought made me feel better. That thought made me feel hopeful. That thought made me feel good. That was my gut feeling. And that feeling is a feeling that I have always known. I've always known that, and that knowing is a feeling. The knowing is that gut feeling that God is only good and that God does not have an ego. And I've felt that way from a little girl. And when I was told these negative things, it just didn't resonate with me. Ever. And still doesn't today. So That was my knowing. That was my feeling. Okay. That was my gut feeling. So, being guided by your intuition takes a lot of practice. And I'm just really talking about the basics. There's so many details. And I bet you at this moment you got so many questions. There's so many details that I'm not saying, but stay tuned. I will be getting more details giving more details in upcoming shows. But using your intuition or being guided by your intuition takes a lot of practice. A lot of practice. Giving attention to it, being very, very conscious and aware of how you feel all the time takes a lot of practice. But that's it. That's the key right there. To pay attention to how you are feeling. The thought comes first. How do you feel about the thought? How is the thought making you feel? The best tool to use is meditation. And I'm sure you guys heard this before. Meditation. What is meditation? It's when you quiet your thoughts and you in your body is still. A stillness. And your thoughts are quiet. So, how long should you meditate? It's up to you. There are people who 5 minutes, 10 minutes, hours, days, months, okay? But they're all good, and whatever time that you come up with is going to help, because meditation helps you get centered. You heard that word before? Help you to get centered and prepared so that you can become very aware of your feelings, your intuition, your gut feelings, so that you can be very clear, okay, about how you feel. Yes, about how you feel, being very, very clear about that. So, meditation is the best way to get clarity. That's what that's all about. So, clarity comes from knowing first what you don't want. Okay? That's why we go through bad experiences, really, because them bad experiences help us define what we don't want. And when we know what we don't want, then we know what we do want. Yay. And now we know. And it doesn't necessarily have to happen this way. Sometimes we do know what we do want, right? But I would say most of the time we know what we do want because we know what we don't want first, right? So anyway, that's the way of looking at your bad experiences, right? So in closing, we are a spiritual being having a physical experience. Our Creator, who created us, who loves us unconditionally. And unconditional love means for no reason. The Creator and I are one. The Creator and you are one. We can choose to live our lives using our 5 senses only. But If we want to have all that this life has to offer us, then we must use all 6 of our senses. It takes a lot of practice using your intuition, because when we were younger, we were very intuitive, but we were taught not to use our intuition, so we've been out of practice for a long time. So let's get back to practicing using our intuition. It's your guide. It's your guide. Express the unconditional love that you have. Practice. Maybe you are thinking, Miss Debbie, where are you getting your information from? Some are my own thoughts. Some are thoughts of others. Remember, you can think on your own, right? We all have our own thoughts too. Not all of our thoughts come from somewhere else. I'm not going to name drop today. I'm not going to share all of my research. I'll do it later, so stay tuned. Because right now, today, I just want us to practice using our intuition. How does my thoughts that I'm sharing with you, resonate with you? How do they make you feel? Let's practice using our intuition, right? We need to take responsibility for our choices and stop blaming others. Practice, practice, practice. Be patient with yourself. Be patient with others, because they're just practicing too. Adults, be extra patient with children, okay? On the next show, I'll have a guest, or the next time that we talk about our relationship with our Creator, I will have a guest talking about their experience with the Creator. Once again, if you are looking for state-approved child development training, go to www.childcareedu.com. If you'd like to contact me, email me at msdebbiesays@gmail.com. I hope this show was helpful. Maybe some of it, not all of it. Take what you like, throw away what you didn't. It's just what Miss Debbie says. See you next week.